Welcome to the Goalmouth Podcast, ladies and gents, a collaboration between Howler Magazine, Dirty Tackle, and the Total Soccer Show. It is Friday, March 17th, and I'm in an incredibly good mood because it's Friday, it's St. Patrick's Day, and I can exaggerate the small amount of Irish in my blood while downing green beverages, and I'm still basking in the glory of my team, AFC Wimbledon, defeating the Milton Keynes Death Star earlier in the week. Life is good. And we start with some good domestic American soccer news. This summer's International Champions Cup looks like it will be the tastiest International Champions Cup on record. Not only are American soccer fans going to be treated to a Clasico in Miami in July, but there'll also be a Manchester derby in either San Diego or Austin, according to The Guardian. Juventus and Tottenham will be rounding out the 6-team money spinner, and it's likely that the visiting teams will also face some MLS competition. A formal announcement of the fixtures and teams is expected during a press conference in New York early next week. This year, the ICC will also be in Europe, China, and Singapore, the latter of which will be getting visits from Bayern, Inter, and Chelsea. Enjoy the heat and 1000% humidity out there, boys. I once ran a marathon in Singapore in the winter, and it felt like running through a steaming hot shower for 3.5 hours. Yikes. Next up, there was a bunch of Europa League games last night. We know what the final 8 looks like. We know that Schalke pulled it back to go through. Man United made it fairly comfortably, albeit with some whining from their manager. And their biggest threat to winning it, Roma, are out. And by the time you listen to this, you'll probably know what the draw looks like. Recent past Ryan is very jealous of you for having that information. But also, we know that Leicester are the only English team remaining in the Champions League. Why is that? And why do Premier League teams struggle so much in Europe? Well, Miguel Delaney at The Independent thinks it's a combination of factors like scheduling, tactical style, and a misguided view of the quality of England's top flight. Delaney's read is an interesting one. Check it out by following the link in the show notes or in the Goalmouth email. Moving on, March Madness started yesterday, and the madness kicked off with the announcement that Jermaine Defoe is going to be included in England's squad for their friendly against Germany and World Cup qualifier against Lithuania later this month. The former Toronto striker is 34 years old, and he last played for England in 2013, back when Harry Kane was about 3 years old. Yeah, I think the math checks out there, but it's not entirely crazy for Defoe to feature. It's clearly a DeMarcus Beasley-style inclusion based on experience, and he does have 14 Premier League goals this season. That's impressive because his team is rubbish, and because it's the highest tally for an Englishman besides the aforementioned Harry Kane, whom he is replacing in the squad. We can argue about squad inclusions all day long, but let's all remember something important. International soccer is a bit rubbish and will always let you down. Unless you're German. Now, I already mentioned that March Madness is upon us, which means it's time for you to throw some money down the drain on a bracket that will never ever work out. Ever. But thanks to the handsome devils at Copper 90, you can combine your love of soccer with your love of unpaid college students being exploited by TV companies. Copper have put together a March Madness Champions League bracket, assigning each college team with a European soccer equivalent. Bayern Munich are Kansas, which means they're annoyingly good. Arsenal are Purdue, which means they won't make the final 8. And Chelsea are Duke, because they play in dark blue and you probably hate them. Check out the bracket on copper90.com. Link is in the show notes. And finally today, some earth-shakingly important news from Spain. Barcelona's incredible comeback against PSG in the Champions League last week caused a real-life actual earthquake. When Sergio Roberto slotted in the Blaugrana's 6th goal of the evening deep into stoppage time, the epic celebrations at the Camp Nou were recorded on the Richter scale at the Jaume Almera Institute of Earth Sciences, which is about 500 metres away from the stadium. That 6th goal measured 1 on the Richter scale. Yes, 1 on the Richter scale, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually means that Barca fans caused a micro-earthquake. And a spokesman confirmed that it was in fact the biggest earthquake ever recorded at that facility. Sounds like a bit of a useless facility if the biggest earthquake only recorded 1 on the Richter scale, but hey, that same spokesman did not confirm whether any of Neymar's dives registered on the same scale. Boom, boom. Alrighty, ladies and gents, that's your lot. Thank you so much for listening. You can find out more about all of today's stories in the Goalmouth Daily email. Link is in the show notes, as I've said several times already. Please tell a friend about our podcast and leave us a review on iTunes, just like Rich16 did. He said, "Love getting these bite-sized pieces on the way to work. In addition, you'll get Ryan Bailey love forever. Not sure what that entails, but it sounds good." Oh, you bet your sweet bippy it sounds good, Rich16. Brooks Peck is back with you on Monday. I leave you with today's Goalmouth top tip. If it doesn't cause an earthquake, don't call it a comeback. Love to your mothers. See you next time.